What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today, it's been a while. It's been a while since we did a video. I think it's been the better part of 3 weeks. And, oh man. Yep, it's been the better part of 3 weeks since we've done a video. Things have been pretty crazy around here. As far as, the stuff going on in the world today, it's just a crazy time. I have been doing a bunch of work in the garage on some of the projects. It's just I've had some customer cars I've had to work on, and engine builds getting done, and just stuff that needed to be done that in my opinion wasn't worth videoing. It wasn't anything cool, anything informative. It was just dumb, tedious work that just had to be done, and it kind of slowed me down on video progression, or slowed me down on video production. But anyways, today's video is going to be a Ranger update video. So we purchased an 8.8 for the Ranger, and I purchased it online on Facebook Marketplace. It was one of those ones where you're like, it looks a little rough around the edges. It's probably okay. I should probably waste money on it. This thing looked like it sat at the bottom of the Missouri River for probably, since I think this was out of a 97 Explorer. Probably been in the river since like 98. At least it looked that way. But yeah, so we picked up an 8.8 for it. The truck's going to need it. The little 5.3 in it. Doesn't make a ton of power, but it does make enough that the stock 7.5 isn't going to last. It isn't going to like its life. So the welded diff can finally go away. I know I'm super glad to get rid of that thing. I don't like the welded diff at all. I'm not a fan. Let's just be honest. I'm not a fan of the welded diff. We're just we're gonna get this rear end apart. I got to cut the mounts and all this stuff off of it, which I find out later that I don't have to do. But I'm going to show you the process that I go through to clean this thing up, get it prepped, and get it ready to go in the Ranger. But at the end of the video, there is some bigger, better news and updates for what's to come with the Ranger. So let's get into this video and show you guys what we're doing. Alright, so just chipping away at the rear end here, and I just noticed, like, as I was grinding, I got a bunch of sparks, and now there's this weird little dark spot like right here. You can kind of see it if I go over something. You can kind of see it follow right here. That's gonna drive me bonkers, because it got something on, like one of the sparks hit the lens of the GoPro. Rookie mistake. But anyways, I went ahead and got the sway bar off, and now I'm just taking the brakes off. Obviously all this stuff's gonna have to be replaced, but you can see inside this hub here where this emergency brake shoe rides, which I'm not really worried about emergency brakes, honestly. I should probably make it work. It's just a matter of hooking some cables up, but I don't know if I'll mess with it just yet, because once I show you the inside of these emergency brake shoes, you're gonna be like, yeah, that's garbage. And I probably don't want to replace them, so I'll probably just take them off and leave them off. But anyways, it's a little damp in here, and you can see here, down here, well, no you can't because the lighting sucks. Well, anyways, nonetheless, down here is a little wet. You can see where the axle seal's been leaking, so I am gonna have to pull the axles out of it, put new seals in it, probably put new axle bearings in it. I got this rear end cheap, but I just can't throw it in the truck and hope for the best, because I just don't have that in me. So I guess I'll end up putting new rotors, probably new calipers, new axle bearings. The spider bearings are a little beat up on it because I pulled the cover on it and drained the fluid, and I didn't video that. But spider gears are a little beat up. The ring gear looked pretty good. Didn't have any pitting or anything in it, but the spider gears did. But and then I actually measured the leaf springs. These, got hair in my mouth. This is a like 3-in-1 pack. The ones on the truck is a 2-in-1 pack. I believe I measured eyelet to eyelet, and they're the same length, so the leaf springs will work. My thought is to put these on it because they're a little bit heavier leaf. Granted, it'll probably raise the back of the truck up some, but then I can just go ahead, you know, as much as I don't want to, I can put a, you know, like a little 1-inch block underneath of it or something to lower it a little bit more. Yeah, and then once I get the leaf springs off of it, get all the brakes off of it, then it's just going to be a matter of trying to clean up the housing. So backing plates are rusted off. I mean, you can see they're falling apart, this one especially. But I'm probably just gonna pull backing plates off. If I can find backing plates cheap, I'll buy a set. If not, I'll just leave them off. It's not that big of a deal to me, you know, because race truck. But yeah, so we're just chipping away at it, trying to get it cleaned up, get it prepped, and once I get everything cleaned up, I'll either just paint it, or maybe I'll do some POR 15 on it to make it look, you know, pretty good, considering, you know, you can crawl underneath there and see a nice fresh rear end underneath of it. It'll definitely add to the value of the truck. So anyways, let's keep trucking. Alright, so I got the brackets off and got the backing plates and everything off. I've kind of started taking those things apart. They're all rusted. You can see all the rust and stuff just laying there. It's not gonna have e-brakes on it anymore, and I'm not messing with any of that crap. So it just kind of is what it is. But yeah, I got the brackets grinded off of it. I'm gonna have to grind a little bit more, mainly because on the Ranger, one of the shock mounts is on the rear on this side, and then the other shock mount is on the front of that side. So I'm going to have to roll this over and do a bunch of grinding there, so whenever the time comes and I get ready to like mock it all up and weld the brackets on, it'll all be prepped and ready. But I'm going to go through and clean all this stuff. I'm going to try and get it to a point where like I can go ahead and paint most of it, and then I'll just leave some areas raw, and then whenever I weld it in, I can go ahead and just go over and touch it up and it'll be fine. But I started cleaning up the backing plates a little. These things are super gross. Come on, adjust. No, maybe. Oh, no. Back out here, maybe this will be better. But anyways, these were pretty rusty, so I went through and just wire brushed them, degreased them, and now I'm gonna take, I've got some more slag I gotta get off there, some scale, whatever you want to call it, rust scale, and then I'm gonna soak these in some evapo rust and see how that'll make them look. Maybe it'll eat some of that crap off there, maybe make it a little better, or maybe loosen it up to where I can wire brush a little bit more, make it look a little better. But I'm gonna get the other one apart here. I gotta drill the rivets and stuff out of it, separate that backing plate, and then I'll get those cleaned and get them soaking in some of that evapo rust. And I'm just gonna go through and continue to wire brush my life away. Yay. All right, so we got the rear end all cleaned up. Still needs calipers and rotors and all that jazzy stuff, but I got this in here. I gotta get this moved out of the way. Customer car I did a motor for, I gotta do some work on, but it's kind of back burner. It's something that's not super rush, so that one's going outside. But we did, that's probably gonna be really windy, so the vet's going outside. And we're gonna do something today I didn't think was gonna come at any point, really. But it was something that just had to happen because I got tired of it. The Ranger has the FiTech on it still. It's been driving decent. It's still got a couple little spots in it that I've tried to tune out. Excuse me. That I've tried to tune out of it. Oh, goodness gracious. Little stumbles at like low speed stuff taken off from shop lights, and I've tried to take it out, tried to tune it, and it just keeps going rich and wants to stumble and all this stuff. So it got to a point where I'm so fed up with it that I sold it. I sold the FiTech system out of the truck. So I'm gonna get it in the garage, I'm gonna get the FiTech off of it, and we got something else coming for it, which I'm sure you could probably already guess, but I've become pretty familiar with the Terminator X, and I really like it on the boost knuckle, so we got a Terminator X coming for it. But anyways, I'm gonna get the truck inside. I'm gonna start ripping this FiTech off here. All right, got the Ranger inside. Just started disconnecting all the injectors and all, like the coolant temp sensor, idle air control, TPS, wide bands, all that stuff. And now I'm just slowly pulling the harness out. It looks like a disaster when you get it all bunched up in one area. But I got to get underneath of it, get the crank sensor disconnected, and then I got to get inside and disconnect all the wires that come inside and go into like the handheld and fuel pump wire, which I just snipped it there, because whenever I get the holly for it, I'll just come through here and then tap in right here, and that'll be the fuel pump. But like I said, this is all for the handheld. I can disconnect this so I don't have to drag that through the firewall. But yeah, so I'm just slowly picking away at this. I'm gonna get this out, and then we will get it all packaged up, shipped up, and out the door to some guy in Vermont. I don't know what he's putting it on, but should treat him right. Like I said, it's done good for me. It did really good on the blower setup, but I just had issues with trying to tune out this one spot down low, and I would assume that more than likely, had I put, it could have been something in my cam selection, as far as VE table stuff goes. I probably would have been better off if I would have went ahead and went to a smaller cam, so the motor itself would have made more power down low. It would have been probably a little easier on that stuff as far as like takeoff and this and that, but whatever, that's neither here nor there. We're getting this out, we're gonna get it boxed up, we're gonna get it shipped out, and we're gonna put a Terminator X on this thing. So I'm out here and I'm pulling the harness out of the truck. I've got it almost all the way out, and you know, I haven't said anything about this yet, and only a few people know, but I told myself in the beginning all I was gonna do is just LS swap this and just drive it. And I've kind of, I really like this little truck, mainly just because it gets a lot of attention. And don't mind me, I'm gonna sit here in the boost knuckle seat. And for a lot of you that don't know, there's a reason why this is out of the truck and why the truck's not in here. But anyways, so I think I'm gonna close this video off with this. So I'm getting the harness out, and a while back I kind of stumbled upon some pieces and all this, and when I built this motor was built for the LSA blower, and I built it with a bunch of parts that I couldn't use on stuff at my work, mainly because it, you know, had the wrong casting numbers or didn't have casting numbers, and it was just a bunch of like used stuff that we didn't do anything with. So I threw it together, but this motor has 317 heads basically. They're an 035 head, but they came off of a prototype motor, and they didn't have any casting numbers on them, so it was really hard to find out what they were, inside and out. You know, all the casting numbers that anybody would have seen or known where to look inside, you know, like on the upside down part of the head surface. Sometimes you'll see like 5.3 or 4.8 or 6.0 and stuff like that inside there, so you'd have an idea what it came off of. I knew these came off of an iron 6-liter 3rd gen, so I knew they had to have been a 317 or an 035 head, which you don't see many of. But all the numbers were gone, so I couldn't use them, at least not on production stuff at my work. So I bought the heads cheap, and then I had some Ferrea valves that got pulled out of an old core that we can't use in anything, and I went through and I cleaned them up, and I ended up cutting the seats out of these heads, putting new seats in them, putting these Ferrea valves in it. It's got, like, I think packed dual springs, titanium retainers, and all that stuff in them. But it's a 317 head on a 5.3. These are a flat top 5.3, but I did have to cut valve reliefs in them. One, because the cam is not right. It's too big for this thing, and the heads are too big for this thing, and the valves are too big for the cam, and it was never intended to make the power it made with the LSA. It was more or less just throw it together, see if it runs, and we're just gonna send it. You know, and it did really well, but it's just in NA form, the way it is right now, it's just too much. The truck, it drives decent, but I want it to drive better. The cam is just too big. The cam is a custom Lunati cam. It's like a 619, 622 lift, which is obviously too big for a 5.3. It's got 255 intake valves, like a 160 exhaust valve, also too big. And like I said, so I had to cut valve reliefs in the tops of the pistons to get piston to valve clearance, because everything was just wrong about it. And you can tell when driving this thing that, you know, you're out ripping on it, and it's not until like you'll be getting on it, and it's not until like 4,500. You know, let's say you stab it in first gear. Let's just start over. Let's say you stab it in first gear. It will not break the tires loose until it gets up to like 4,500, because that's about the time the cam really starts to make power with this little motor, and then it'll break the tires loose. And I want it to be a little bit less aggressive. Granted, it sounds cool and everybody likes it, and they're like, wow, that sounds rowdy as hell. Yeah, it does, but if it doesn't make power, then it's kind of worthless. So I've, over the last couple months, I've kind of acquired some pieces. Let's show you what I got, because we're gonna do something. And like I said, I wasn't intending on doing this anytime soon, because I wanted to get the Terminator on it. I wanted to dyno this motor, see what it made in NA form and all this stuff. But it's just gonna prolong stuff, and I'm super impatient. But I've got a set of 862 heads. I've already got springs and retainers in them, just some stuff I had laying around. The heads have been gone through. They have 2-inch intake valves instead of the 1.890 intake valve, and then just the stock exhaust valve. They've already been resurfaced. Everything's ready. I just have to put these on the motor. So it should get a little bit of a bump in compression with those. And I ended up talking to a guy named Scott over at jeez, I almost said Sloppy. Scott over at Elgin, and because Elgin's a big supplier for parts for us at my work. So I hit him up, kind of told him what I was doing, and obviously he's like, oh, you know, the Sloppy Stage 2 everybody loves, whatever. I don't need a cam that big, so the Sloppy Stage 1 probably would have been good, which is like an 1838p, and then the Sloppy Stage 2 is an 1840p. I went with the one in the middle, it's 1839 right there. It's a pretty mild cam in all reality. What is it, 575? Let's see if I can focus on that. It is 575 lift on the intake and 575 on the exhaust, and it's 220, come on, focus, 220, 224, and I believe it's a 112. Yeah, it's a 112 LSA, so it's got 4 degrees advance ground into it, so a little bit tamer considering the other one is a 227, 232 duration on a 111 LSA. So this one is a little lighter on lift, a little lighter, so it should all around be a little easier on the valve train too. So I'm gonna, I guess while I'm at it, you know, I mean, what the heck, the truck's probably gonna be down for a week or so before I can get the Terminator X, and I know I'm gonna have to put a different converter in it at some point, but it's like, if I'm already gonna continue to drive it and continue to work on it, it's like I might as well get it a little, just make it better. I might as well just make it better. And I mean, might as well do it now, since I'm going to pull this off. The truck's going to sit in the garage, like I said, for probably a week or better, waiting on the Terminator to get here. I might as well just jump straight to it, go straight to the cam and head setup that I want to put on it, that's, you know, going to end up being what goes on it in the end anyways. And the weather's still pretty decent right now, so I'm just going to do it. So anyways, that's gonna do it for this video, guys. Just kind of give you a little rundown of what's going on with the truck, and keep following along. There's gonna be some boost knuckle updates here pretty soon, and then once I get this harness off and the Terminator X comes in, we'll do a little install video of swapping out the cam and the heads for Project Gold Dust. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see y'all later.